working on communication, it can be between, different groups of people. So maybe, if it's a work situation, like supervisors, right? Communicating with them, or fellow coworkers, or if you're, hosting an event, maybe it's the guests. And again, there's verbal and nonverbal communication. So under appearance, again, remember, there's several ways to communicate. And so whether that's using little picture cards or different types of sign language, word approximations, gestures, facial expressions, glances, or verbally communicating or using some sort of speech app or device. And so there's a lot of ways. I want to encourage you that there's a lot of ways to work on communication. I also want to mention here that it is totally okay to ask how to do the activities that you don't know how to do. So maybe there's something you haven't done before. That is totally okay to ask someone, hey, how did you want this done? Or if it looks like they're doing a little bit differently than, you would do at your own living space. Let's say that you're cleaning a certain thing, or you're preparing a certain thing, and you're like, the setup's a little bit different than how it is at, my living arrangement. Okay, well, just ask them how they want it done. How do they want this thing folded, or how do they want this thing prepared, or how do they want this stocked or organized? And so it's totally fine to ask people information about that. And when we're talking about making changes, and so working on that flexibility here, if you see that, let's say you're communicating with a group of people, and it's okay to, you can change what you're saying in order to get the message across. And so let's say you're volunteering and there's a group of kids, and let's take the example of the volunteering to help the children from low-income apartment complexes, encouraging them to persevere in school. And I had a video on that. But let's say that, they just, if there's someone there and, maybe they don't understand about, or maybe they don't, they're not like throwing their trash from their snack in the trash can. And so, if you take one approach, hey, let's pick up and throw away our trash so the earth can be happy. And if that doesn't work, you can change it to, hey, I'll race you to the trash can. I bet I'll get there first. And then, of course, let the kid win, let him get there first. But so you can make changes. And if one way of communicating with someone doesn't work, you can communicate a different way. And so that's not awkward. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's just making adjustments in life in general, just working on that flexibility. And then I want to point out, so let's say that you're just kind of in the same concept here. Let's say that you're getting a medical test done, and at first there's some apprehension, or there's some difficulties, or it's the way they're doing it is kind of different than the way someone else did it when you had that certain type of procedure. But that doesn't mean that it's being done incorrectly. And also, the main thing is, even if there are some challenges at first, the main thing is that they're able to do the test, and you're able to do the test just to the best of your ability, right? And so that's the main thing is, we're staying positive on the things that did work, and, good quality effort, and that is great. We're sometimes things just happen, and so we're just gonna kind of go with the flow, right? And I want to make a note here while we're kind of talking about changes and, unexpected things, or if let's talk about an example with autism. This is all about autism, but some of these concepts apply to other medical conditions as well. But when we're talking about, so if someone's like, oh, well, let's go to the park. And so to the person with autism, that might, imply oh, well, let's go to the park right now, right? That's what's being implied. So if the other person is like, oh, I'm going to do this first, or I'm going to do that first, or I'm going to work on this over here, well, that could be a little bit dysregulating to the person with autism, because they're like, wait, you said one thing, but then now you're doing something else over here. So just, kind of like, just kind of understanding where like some dysregulation can come from.